This song is probably my guilty pleasure right here. Get this shit. Minnie Riperton. Everybody sing with me. Ready? Loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful. Every time
with you is all I wanna do. Loving you is more than just a dream come true. 'Cause everything that I do is out of loving you.
La 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 la. Ooh, doo, 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 doo. If you see my laptop, it says Steele's Avenue on it. So this is like our main road that all we knew growing up. When I like to make beats, I like to go through like certain, vinyl chops or samples. So I'm gonna just run through a couple of them, see what inspires me here. Sounds pretty cool. Listen to the whole thing so you know what you have. That's hard. I'm gonna drag it in here, and then I could just pretty much fuck around with the tempo, the pitch. That's so cool. Right after that, I'll just start doing drums and just make a groove at least, and then you can start building a song on top of it. Right before we went to Ekam Academy, I used to go to Gurdwara. I learned Kirtan there, but I think one problem we had in that time was like there's one teacher and there'd be 100 students. You're not really learning, you feel me? And like everyone's at a different pace and stuff. So my dad took us to Ekam Academy. We started learning like the Shabds, rags, and how to play the harmonium at the same time. How do you do vocal training with the harmonium? So it was all very like fun as well. You feel me? They had a very good environment, so that made us really learn. And from there, it became like sort of something. I feel like Rexdale Brown kids were just like a little different. We kind of grew up with not everything, you feel me? And so like you empathize with a lot after this. You start appreciating what you get. Where we are in Brampton now, like compared to this, is a whole different ordeal, you feel me? And like, so the stuff like that, like this really means a lot from where we come from, because like we still know like so many people still here. Yeah, this looks much better than how we left it off. It's got like glass balconies and shit. 16 years of my life. You feel me? My first 16 years, I was born here. On the 16th floor, there was like these dudes that pretty much ran a meth lab. The best we knew at that time was the fact that those guys had BMWs and lived here, right? So that's what I thought life was, like you're gonna get a sick ass whip and you're still gonna live here. That's how we thought life was. So, you know what I'm saying? When you're asking me how it feels to be in Brampton and shit, like, it's like, now that you're like, oh, boom, we're in a house and we got a car, you feel me? Or else this is all we knew. While we were doing shabds, when we were at those Darbar Sahibs and stuff, I was Sita DJ the. I really like, the sound of a sarangi. So that was the second instrument I picked up, sarangi. And those were only really the two instruments I learned, right, from Ustads. But everything else, you're kind of just around the environment. So I just picked up on the tabla, the tol, the tad. The sarangi made me kind of comfortable with strings. Harmonium made me comfortable with keys. So it kind of just works out, you feel me? You just figure your way into playing things. This is a OZ kit. We're all fans of OZ. We'll go through some drums here. It's cool. Then you start adding a little, anything that just makes the bounce move. That's pretty cool. You know, like, it's like my father is like my hero. Just wanted to be like him kind of was like the motivation, except I didn't know how to write or anything. He really had this kind of dream to get into music. He tried to, you know, fund his own albums in India and stuff like that. But once he got here, you know, he had to, you know, make that bread and keep the family going. So his whole thing was just like keeping us out of trouble and stuff, put us into music, put us into Bhangra. That like put a spark in us. But I feel like just because he had that love for music where he was humming all the time or singing all the time, and you know, he had that vibe around the house, like that really just like instilled something in our minds to kind of be into music. For us, it's like he's like living his dream through me and Saqdar, you could say. When my dad bought me this Phantom, and then a lot of the stuff he bought me at that time, it was like he would be adamant about whatever you're doing, make sure you're doing the best out of it. Even like when we went to Akam Academy, it was like, come back home and spend another 2 hours doing what you did there. Whatever it was, I was playing rugby for a while. His whole thing was, let me drive you to other practices. Don't just play at school, play at club. You feel me? So it was like, whatever you want to do, let me just like support you. And my mom was kind of more like, you know, just like any other Desi mom, just kind of like taking care of us and taking care of the house, right? Her whole thing was, you know, learn to take care of yourself and learn to be good humans. So like both my parents just had like a very good touch of like making me into who I am today. As a kid, like when you get this like support from your parents, you feel like you're on top of the world, that your parents actually fuck with what you want to do. So I think it was very important. It was very crucial in mine and my brother's life, you could say. Jay Static was probably the most like, really took me from making music the way it was to like, all right, thinking of how to actually make this thing sound good. He's like a mixing engineer as well, so he's a very technical person, and I wasn't so much. I didn't learn the producing side of it. I only knew how to play instruments and sing, right? So he really kind of like taught me certain things, like, you know, how do you layer things and arrangements and boom, boom, boom. So he really just put me in a good mindset of like how to make music at that time, you feel me? And I was young. And so for him to take me under his wing was really, really big for me, you feel me? Like as a 12-year-old, no one really like takes you serious, you feel me? And anyone that he introduced me to really taught me a lot. And yeah, Veej was an amazing mentor, because like, he got me in the industry. You know, me and Diljit have at this point known each other for like 6 years because of Veej. His mentorship was more so industry learning, you feel me? And like that really put me in a good position to be where I am today, like knowing everybody and being able to talk to people. Like Jay Static and Veej just like in the startup were like the most crucial things in my career. Like if you take them out of my life, like there's no Icky. Quantize everything. Quantize everything makes shit sound better. Go through some bass samples here. At this point, you pretty much got the basics of your beat here. You really just want to start arranging it so that way when an artist hears the beat, they got something to work with. They got a, you know, they got a pre-chorus, they got a hook, they got a verse. Like start with the sample as an intro. This could be a pre-chorus right here. And we got a hook coming up. When I moved to Florida for school, first of all, like being a kid from Toronto, like going to like Florida was just a whole different vibe. Like Toronto kids don't really go out there to like live. You go out there for partying, for vacation and stuff, but I went there to live. One, it was hot, but two, fam, it just makes you, I don't know, it made me get on my own feet a lot quicker than I would have if I went to school here or something, you know what I mean? When I go into the studio, I'm the only one going in with the fuck. And so I stand out from everyone else when I'm in those studio rooms where it's not an up or nothing going on. So by default, I'm the most different guy there. Being in those rooms is like really what's pushing this initiative forward and making like myself, like proving to myself as well, like, yeah, you could be a singer and it's fine. Like you look in the DMs and you get kids like, you know, DMing this shit to you, or you get your own buddies like telling you like, yo, you inspire me, right? That's really cool, you know? That's something that, one, you don't expect out of it. You don't really expect people telling you that you're inspiring. So when you do get to hear it, it's just lovely. And you are that person who's loving an open arm, like, it's gotta stem from somewhere. And to me, I feel like it comes from our culture, whether it's just going to the Gurdwara, you feel me? Or whether it's just reading the Guru Granth Sahib and trying to learn, like, dissect, like, what does this actually mean? You feel me? Like, that's what I did my whole life growing up, whether it was Kirtan, Tati, like, you know, I would ask my dad, what do these things mean, right? And so when you have that instilled, one way or another, it's gonna come out. All I'm gonna do now is just try to fill it up a little with some chords. So as you can see, I can just read it over here. That's that beat.
Through my tree, she recognized.
Oh shit. Should we try recording the guitar on it? Foreign Records is like a representation of myself, but also just like every other kid like me, you feel me? That, you know, we grew up in a country like Canada where everyone speaks English, and you grow up as a Desi or just any ethnicity, and you make music that's bringing cultures together, is shaping the form of the new industry. That to me is foreign, you feel me? Like anything that's not English is foreign to me. So it's like, I want that to be a part of my label. I want that energy to be a part of the label. I think there's a responsibility as like being one of the only guys that is able to communicate in Punjabi and in English. For the artists that I'm working with that have trouble doing that, like for me it was, I think if I can set up something nice for myself, these guys will follow along. Not even follow along, but at least I'm able to vouch for my people in a place that they're not really vouched for. I was supposed to just write foreign as in foreign, but then I was like, yo, I'm gonna write it like this, because one, it's cool, but also I was like, how I said, like, I'm inviting everybody into this. It was like the Harmandir Sahib, you know, how we have 4 doors. So I was like, yo, that is a good representation of what we got going on at the record label, you feel me? So yeah, that's what foreign is, fam. There's one thing I always say, like, in this like business, there's probably more downs than there are actually ups. The only time it's really an up is when the song comes out. All the other days are just downs because you're trying to get something out, you're trying to fix this, you're arguing with an artist, you're having creative differences with someone. It's always downs, you feel me? I don't think there was actually a point where I said, I don't want to do this no more. I don't think like it ever got that bad. But definitely like at certain points it was like you're fighting to get something done and it wasn't really working the way it was supposed to be worked out. It was like, I don't gotta fight this guy, I don't gotta do all this. I could just go back to just producing the way I was and not be doing all the business stuff and trying to be the producer, artist and all that. Just do whatever you were doing before. It was working then too. I'm starting to develop myself as an artist more. We're starting up touring, so now I get to have a live presence as well. Just anything and everything foreign. You feel me? That's what I'm about. I'm gonna keep adding culture, I'm gonna keep adding spice, that's about it.
my tree. She rides at night next to me. She rides